Ministry of Power has finalized the National Electricity Plan for 2023 to 2032. The total cost of the plan over this entire period is going to be 9.15 lakh crore rupees. That's the kind of investment we're talking about. The National Electricity Plan aims to meet peak demand of 458 gigawatts by 2032. One of its key targets is to facilitate renewable energy integration as well as green hydrogen loads into the grid. To talk about this development, we have with us Mr. Anil Gupta, CMD of KEI, and we also have Amit Uplenchwar, the director at Kalpataru Projects. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining in. So we've got the big headlines in yesterday with the big targets going all the way up to 2032. Let's get your opening thoughts on what you think about this plan and whether the targets are achievable and the investment that is being spoken about. Mr. Gupta, you go first. What did you make of some of the bigger headlines that are in of the plan as of now?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to the show. This is a very ambitious plan. Basically, as the power generation is increasing by the renewable power or, with this coming up of this pump storage projects, new thermal capacity generations and green hydrogen, which is talked about. So it is very important to, undertake increase in the transmission capacity to evacuate that power and bring it to the grid and then subsequently to the distribution network so that the consumer is able to use it. So the plan is to expand this network, this circuit kilometer, by almost 50 to 60%, and the transformation capacity of the substations also by 70 to 75%. It is a big opportunity because we have to, feed the demand of power to data centers, to lot of artificial intelligence networks, growing demand in the urban and rural areas and industries. So unless the power transmission is jacked up, it will not reach to the targeted consumers. And it will bring a huge opportunity to EPC companies, to electrical cable companies, the transformer manufacturers, and many other companies who are supplying this to this sector.
So absolutely, and I think this is becoming more and more clear that if we have to feed power to all these data centers and what we're talking about on the renewable side, you've got to be investing in the grid, and I think that's what the plan really focuses on as well. So just quantify the opportunity if you can. I know it's early days, but for KEI, for instance, what could this mean in terms of revenue potential? Not this year, but let's talk about let's say a 3-year plan.
See, only from this, I think the opportunity is around 50 to 60% more sales from the cables in this sector. But it will have a compounding effect because the power, from these transmission lines will be delivered to the distribution companies, to household sectors, to real estate, to industries. So it will have a compounding effect by around 2.5 to 3 times compared to what it has a direct impact. So I think it will, triple the requirement of products used in the power systems through transmission of this type of power.
Mm-hmm. Got that. And that's well put. Gentlemen, good morning. Great to have both of you here. Prashant this side. Mr. Gupta, if I can request you to don, they say that businessmen often make the best analysts. So I'm not asking you what the benefit for KEI will be. If you can just step back, and when you say this is transmission capex, right? It'll require sort of cables, wires, etc., as you said, and companies like you will benefit. But what else you think in the value chain in transmission capex? What are we looking at? If you could just give us a bird's eye picture, and what kind of companies will benefit?
Prashant, it will benefit all the EPC companies in this sector. It will benefit the conductor manufacturing, ACSR conductor manufacturing companies. It will benefit the transformer manufacturing companies and all the companies like ABB, Siemens, or the companies who are supplying, products to the power sector, power transmission, generation, and distribution sector. Because once the power is there, it has to be used. It has to be used by first by the distribution company, and then it has to be used by the actual user. So in complete value chain, whatever products are I can say that panel manufacturers in HT segments, LT segments, or whatever products are used in this particular sector, specifically it will benefit a lot to the EPC companies, because they will get the contracts and then they will buy the products.
Actually, on that note, let's bring in Amit as well. Amit, exact same question to you. You're right in the thick of the action as all these numbers and targets are being discussed. What's the opportunity? If you could put some numbers to it.
So, Subhi, thanks for having us. I think, first of all, to put context to this plan, I think it's amazing. It's very futuristic. It's very progressive. And I'll tell you for three reasons. One thing is to add capacity to meet future demand, right? Today, our per capita consumption in India is literally at 1255 kilowatt hour as of 2022. US is 9 times that. China is 4.5 times that. So for the next 10 years that this plan rolls out the targets that you all have in front of you, I think for everybody in the value chain, especially for large EPC companies which have technological difference in terms of capability, I think it's a runway of 10 years where there's going to be unabated work. I think, but more importantly, the reason why this grid is very progressive is because if you've noticed, they've spoken about 4 very, very important things. Other than adding capacity, what is more important as the goal is to ensure reliability and sustainability of the grid, right? Today, we are also talking about 3 areas. One is ISTS that you would have read, making sure that power is wheeled across all states so that we have uniform distribution of power. It doesn't matter where it's getting generated or where it's getting consumed, right? It gets into a very stable pan-India grid. Second, it is going towards HVDC technology, right? We've only done 33 gigawatts of HVDC so far till now, right? Year to date. And I think in the next 10 years, we've got to add exactly the same amount of HVDC networks. Now, HVDC is, as we know, it's high voltage, it's direct current. It reduces the transmission loss over large distances when electricity is carried. So I think our grid becomes more stable, it becomes more efficient, it becomes more reliable. And all of these things in this plan are very, very progressive. If you look at also Osowog, I don't know if you paid attention to that. It's between Maldives, UAE, Saudi, and Singapore. We are also talking about one grid where there's one sun and one grid. Now, all of these places, we are present, for instance, and our cost of generation in India is much lower compared to these countries. And there can be a transfer over a period of time also if this plan gets implemented. So to answer your question, I don't have exact numbers, but if you look at all the capacity targets, whether it is for pump hydro, whether it is for renewable, whether it is for transmission capex, substation, they are very, very large numbers. And we being one of the top 2-3 players, I think for KPIL, it holds really good that for next 10 years, we have absolutely a clear runway. We are more concerned about how do we enhance our management bandwidth and capability to execute all these orders over the next 10 years, right? We've had a lull over the last 4-5 years, and now suddenly there's an explosion in terms of amount of work that's coming. We've already established our design centers for HVDC and other networks in Baroda, in Mumbai, in Noida, in Brazil, and in Sweden. And I think they're constantly focusing on how to use AI, drones, helicopters, etc., to use in our execution capability, and hence becoming, faster, more reliable than we are even today by using technology in our execution. So work doesn't seem to be a problem.
No, I get that. I think you've given us, you've given us a great backdrop, and it's a good position to be in, right? You're saying next 10 years, you will be a very, very busy person, along with everybody else in the company. But just help us understand, but just help us understand, I mean, as a company, given the extent of the opportunity, will you be present in all parts of the value chain? when we're talking about, upping the ante on transmission infrastructure and grid connectivity. I'm just trying to get more granular details on how you will pivot or how you will capture the opportunity in what segments. And again, the same question, not a roadmap for today, but if we talk about the next 2 to 3 years, compared to the targets that you had you already factored in this kind of a network and grid expansion? We're just trying to understand if the announcements yesterday mean a much bigger business opportunity.
So let's look at us in the next 2 to 3 years, right? In the value chain, you start with manufacturing and then you go on to execution. As you know, today we manufacture transmission line towers. We are one of the largest manufacturers of transmission line towers. But because of this roadmap, there is pump storage hydro, there is hydrogen plants that are being talked about, as a result of which it gives me an opportunity to expand my current manufacturing portfolio immediately to look at hydrogen electrolyzers and other parts of the value chain in transmission and substations. Second, so far as my other businesses are concerned, we have a very large water division, and once pump hydro storage kicks in, it helps my water division to get business, which is a completely new segment that opens for us. We already have the capability to do those. There are large hydropower plants being talked about. We have a very large heavy civil division, and that is a new opportunity set altogether, which we've not done before for our heavy civil division. So it's across the value chain, from manufacturing to water business to heavy civil and of course transmission and substation. I think for the next 10 years, it opens a huge runway for us.
This is interesting. You just mentioned a couple of new verticals as well: hydrogen electrolyzers, heavy civil work, along with everything else that you already do. Very quickly, gentlemen, because we have, I think, less than a minute left on the conversation. So, Amit, you'll have to start thinking about money and putting more capex to work as well, right? Because you're talking about a bigger opportunity here. Maybe some sense, again, I'm trying to get back to some definitive numbers, capex this year, and now with this kind of a backdrop, what is the increase in capex that you would look at?
So, Surabhi, we've already said we're going to do around 450-500 crores of capex this year. But the good thing about transmission networks is that it's not a very capex-intensive business. What you need is engineering capability, which we already have. The incremental capex is not as heavy as some of the other sectors, like heavy civil, etc. So in that sense, I won't be able to give you an exact number, but I don't see capex being a problem for us given the strength of our balance sheet.
No, because you mentioned newer, Amit, because you mentioned newer businesses like getting into electrolyzers, like heavy civil. That's why I'm saying I'm trying to understand the company pivot.
To be honest, we don't have plans yet because we still have to see what technology works best, etc. So I will be able to tell you that as we firm up the plans going forward.
Okay. And Mr. Gupta, very quickly, same question to you from a company perspective, additional investments or a revenue number, any number that you can leave us with, perhaps.
You see, we have already undertaken a very heavy capex in our new greenfield project coming up at Sanand near Ahmedabad. It is a capex of almost 1,800 crore rupees, which will be done in this and next financial year. And it will have a compounding effect of our turnover. We will be able to increase our sales by almost 5,000 crore per year from that project. And we intend to grow by 17 to 18%. Secondly, we are going to bring large HVDC extra high voltage cables in that plant up to 525 kV. So in this yesterday's announcement, lot of HVDC new lines are going to come up, and I think many of them may be through the HVDC cable, not through the overhead lines alone. So this is going to benefit us like anything in terms of enhanced use of extra high voltage power cables in HVAC as well as HVDC.
Okay, all right, gentlemen, great conversation. Thank you very much. This is pretty futuristic stuff, and we hope to get more granular details as the plan rolls along as well. And good luck to both of you in terms of making the most of it. Thank you for joining in today. Well, that's sort of a curtain raiser on what to expect from some of these power companies on the transmission side as the National Electricity Plan rolls along. We'll take a break. On the other side,